the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is a beast of a phone for photos and videos. But today, let's talk about the best settings to take the most out of the camera you can get on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. So now we are in the camera settings on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. First off, let's go with the photos. I would turn off the watermark, I just don't like it, I don't need it in my photos. If you like that kind of stuff, go for it, but I personally would take it off. AI recommendations, as you can see I have everything turned on. From the bottom, let's go. Scan QR codes is just really handy for everyday situations. Recognize text also is really handy. Also, ultra zoom, when you go into a bigger digital zoom, it can take a second and the AI is gonna really clean up the photos. It's a really nice feature. I really like it both on the 14 Ultra and the 15 Ultra. Extended depth of field is most for the macro on the telephoto lens. I have it like it is here, but you can change it while taking the photo. You're gonna see the situation where you can change it on the top of the screen, so that is usually on, so that you have that suggestion. Main camera default focal length 23mm, that is the full way it is. If you change this, it's gonna be not using the full potential of that camera. I would leave it as it is. Image format, I'll leave it as JPEG, while the other format is still ultra high definition. It looks really good, it does save space, but sometimes it isn't supported on different computers, different phones, so if you want to have just the most flexibility and compatibility, I'll leave it as JPEG. It's gonna still look great, but you're gonna have just more flexibility later on. Picture quality, I left it at super. We want to take the best out of this phone that we can get. Metering preference, you can set it depending on what you shoot. If you shoot like landscapes, you're probably gonna want to have the average. If you shoot a lot of times where there's people in the shots, I'll leave it at face, so it's making sure that it's not overblowing the face. Selfie settings, I left it as it was, and I would probably just, I don't like the makeup effects, so yeah. Selfie settings, you can leave it as it is like here. Mirror front camera, so that it's the way it should be, so it's not mirrored to what we have. Adjust makeup effects for, I don't like any kind of AI fixing of things, so we did turn it off. Then shutter type, well, those are different things. If you want to have some kind of shortcuts for photos, you can do things here. I left it off because I don't really use it. Then the motion tracking focus, it can be a nice feature. I personally don't use it. If I have a situation where I know I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna turn it on, but for 99% of the time, I just have it turned off. Fast shots, I didn't touch anything there. As for video encoder, I would say the high compatibility with H.264 is the better of the two. It's just more compatible with different devices, your computer. For example, if you want to make a vlog with this phone, I would rather have it at H.264, which is just more compatible. If you put it on your computer, it's gonna read just fine. If you have it at the other one, who knows? Your computer could read it, could not read it. Your software could have problems with it, and it could not. It's just better to have it, in my opinion, in that format, even though you might be losing just slightly on the quality that you see on the screen itself. I feel like in the long run, you're probably gonna be better off with this instead of the other one. Audio settings, here you can use those. I pretty much changed nothing. Smart noise reduction can be a nice feature, but I just didn't use it. I guess I can always fix it in post, but if you're someone that is in a situation where there could be some noise, this is a nice feature to have. Then dimensional immersive audio is more like the way surround sound kind of a way, so I would probably have it on like I have it here. If you don't like it, you can turn it off. And then the other two I have turned off. Motion tracking focus, well, you can have it, but I personally, like with the photos, I don't have it. Dolby Vision, while it does look really nice on this screen, it does look very nice, really sharp, colors are really contrasty, everything is really nice, like it says striking contrast, but like it says also, this feature might not be compatible with some third-party apps. Or for example, if you're shooting and then want to edit on computer, sometimes it could be a problem. So I personally just have it off because it isn't worth to not have that compatibility and just have the best quality settings for later in post-production. You can always turn it off, and if you like it, it's up to you. Auto frame rate, I have it turned on. This actually limits or reduces the frame rates when in low light. Because in low light, the smaller frame rate means that in each second you have less frames, which will make it a little bit different looking, but because of it, each frame is getting more light. And thanks to this, you just have better low light capabilities. Everything looks better without having to push as much. So I personally would leave it on a phone just to make things quicker and easier. And then in general, grid lines. I like to have the rule of thirds and straighten. There's a reason for this. I usually don't like the kind of things, but I've noticed that a lot of times I would have a photo that is crooked to one side or other, just not straight, and with these two settings you can not only have a straight horizon, but also use the lines and grids to really make sure that the composition is really good. From here, display parameters. As you can see, you can just copy what I have here. I have not touched anything because those are pretty much good to go. Unless you need any of those, then you can turn it on, but I guess if you know what you need, you will turn it on anyway. Then we have the preserve settings. I touched nothing on here. Future layout, I have it like this. It is pretty much the way it was. No problems with that. Camera mode. I personally like the more tab instead of the more panel, but it's up to you. Whichever you like, this is just personal preference. Shutter sound is once again personal preference. You can have different shutter sounds. We have the default, you can have the different mechanical classic. I have it default, doesn't really make any difference in terms of photo quality. Then if we go down, auto adjust lens, you can keep it turned on, but if you have some situations where you feel like it's doing not what you want to, for example, you would rather use a different lens for that specific shot, you can turn it off, but I have it turned on because usually it's spot on. It's usually what we want from the phone. It does really well. And then I left everything is here. And that pretty much concludes everything on it. But let's go into the photo app now. And as you can see, we have a little bit more here to do. As for the photos, I leave everything as it is. If you want, you can leave the HDR on. It's just gonna have a nice high dynamic range. Always a little bit nicer, but it's not something you need. It's just nice to have. It doesn't really interfere too much. Unless you don't like the HDR look, turn it off. Super macro is really nice if you want to have macro photos and videos, and that is really nice, but it's going to use the 3x zoom, so the 75mm of the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. It is really nice for close-ups, it's amazing. Then we have, for other settings, I will go for Leica Vibrant and Authentic. The Leica Vibrant is going to be better looking, better colors in my opinions in daylight, just more colorful, more punchy, more social media ready. With Authentic, it's going to be a little bit more like a, special feel, and you might have actually see from what I'm doing right now, there is a vignette on the side of it. If I switch to Leica Vibrant, Leica Authentic, you're going to see that there are a little bit like right here, a little bit of the vignette. So if you like that kind of stuff, it's really nice, but it's going to be a little bit toned down. The colors are going to be more toned down, not as colorful, but both are really nice and very good looking. From here, I would not change much. If we go into video, I would record almost always in 4K 60 frames per second. Thanks to this, you can use all the lenses and it's going to look really good because of 4K, and the 60 frames per second is really smooth. And you can slow it down in post-production for 50% to have a slow motion. In my opinion, it's just the most versatile, the best looking, both for normal footage and for slowing down. Every use case scenario can be used with 4K 60 frames per second from the phone. But this is my personal preference, and like I said, you can switch between all the lenses no matter which one you want to use. From here, we also have the Pro. This is going to be really dependent on what you really want to do, but I really like that you can put on the log format in 4K 60 frames per second across all the lenses. And then from here, the settings are going to be pretty dependent on the situation you are. If you're not sure, you can leave it at auto, and it's probably going to do a pretty good job for you. But if you don't want it to change, you want to have it set as something that you feel like is good. So it looks like this. Okay, I feel like this is good looking, and then when you leave it like this, you're gonna be sure that it doesn't change when you turn and the picture is a little bit darker, so it doesn't have that fluctuating. So once you grade it, you know that everything is gonna look the way it should, and it's not switching when you kind of tilt and move around. But this goes for both photos and videos. But going to the photos, I would personally, let's say we have everything at auto. Now what I would personally say from the things that we change, you can change it like a vibrant and authentic, but here we're focusing a little bit more on something else. We can actually change to 12.5 megapixel and to the 50 megapixel. 50 megapixel is nice, extra details, but I personally would not go for it. I feel like the 12.5 megapixel is good looking already, and it's a smaller file size. And for the format, I would choose the RAW because it's nice that you can add it in post-production. This is how I have it set on my phone, so that if I shoot photos here, it's a JPEG, and if I shoot on the Pro, it's a RAW, so I can take advantage in post-production if I wanted to. And that is where I can change all the settings, so it's really making this like a pro photo and then a everyday shooter on the photo app. And from here, this is pretty much all that we have to cover. And this is pretty much all about the settings on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. in my opinion, is a great smartphone for photos and videos, and you can really take advantage with all the settings that we have here. I personally love it as a quick shooting camera instead of using the full frame camera that I have. If I want something that is for social media and want to have really nice quality and ready to go right away, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is a great phone for that. With that being said, if you have any more questions about the settings on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, let me know in the comments section down below. With that being said, it's going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.